Most people have heard of California's second largest lake, Lake Tahoe. Most people have not heard of California's largest lake, the Salton Sea, which is one of the largest inland bodies of water. It measures 15 miles by 35 miles for an area of 340 square miles. Is it natural? Kind of. The area lies along the San Andreas Fault, and so it's in a depression that's actually 200 feet below sea level. And as the Colorado River has changed its course in the past, there have been times where this area has been filled with water, forming a lake, and at times when it has not and has been a dry basin. It was a dry basin in the early 1900s when accidental breaks in irrigation lines during a flood of the Colorado River emptied a lot of water into the area that now had no way to leave, and it formed a lake. The lake got bigger because of all of the agriculture in the surrounding Imperial Valley, and water runoff from the agriculture went into the lake area faster than it was evaporating. So the Salton Sea was formed. And it was a great thing because it's in Southern California, very hot and arid, so it's a big body of water. It was great for wildlife. Fish were introduced there, and many types of birds would use it as a stopover on their migration routes. This was increasingly important as California used more and more of its wetland for agriculture, then this area as a place for migrating birds to stop, rest, and refuel became extremely important. Also, it was very popular in the 1950s and 60s for tourists, and musical groups performed there, etc. Unfortunately, then things began to change as irrigation for farmland became more efficient. Less water came in. The Hoover Dam also then limited floods of the Colorado River. And in the past 20 years, the mega drought has then caused the shoreline to recede. So the sea is evaporating. It is currently twice the salinity of the Pacific Ocean, and as more and more water evaporates, it will just become saltier and saltier. Most of the fish have died, and many birds died as they were eating, dead fish. This was in the 1990s. There was a great deal of this. And as the receding lake exposes more and more shoreline, which is, this dry, crusty salt, but also a lot of chemicals which had been used in the agriculture. This has produced, an area of playa which is actually toxic. It's very salty, it's full of chemicals, it creates a toxic dust, which then contaminates the air, making the surrounding area some of the poorest air quality in the United States. And children who grow up in the area have a much higher rate of asthma and incidence of respiratory disorders. And so the current problem with the Salton Sea is that it is toxic and a man made environmental disaster. It is no longer overly attractive for humans for the recreational purposes that it once served, and it no longer serves wildlife as it once did. What to do? Well, some advocate that one should try to save the Salton Sea, create new wetlands which are safe for wildlife. This would involve a great deal of money. It would involve a great deal of water, which is becoming scarcer and scarcer during this mega drought. However, letting it continue to dry up would be equally costly because it would expose more and more of this playa, which has these toxic chemicals, and then create more and more health problems for those who live in the area. And so, if you lived in the area and were in a position to help make decisions, what would you say? Would you save the Salton Sea using money and water to do that? Or would you not, knowing that this would worsen the environmental conditions for those who live in the area? What would you do?